Ah, pero era con el Barça. Pero no, 2-0. Vamos 2-0.
2-1. Esa valdría.
106 minutes. That's how long Spain and Argentina played without a goal in the 2026 World Cup final. 106 minutes of tension, of missed chances, of the whole world holding its breath at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. And then, a substitute who had been on the pitch for just 44 minutes controlled the ball, looked up, and scored the only goal of the match. Spain, world champions. But here's what made that moment truly extraordinary. The man who scored it, the man who decided the biggest match in football, had been called a serial misser for years. Barcelona fans had demanded he be sold. Critics said he wasn't good enough. Pundits questioned whether he belonged at the highest level. And 4 years before that goal, he was sitting in a therapist's office, in the darkest period of his life, wondering whether he should quit football altogether. His name is Ferran Torres, and this is the story of a man who hit rock bottom and came back to make history. From a small town outside Valencia to the biggest goal in Spanish football history, this is the full story of Ferran Torres. We'll take you through his journey, the academy years, the big moves, and the moment everything nearly fell apart. But we'll also go deep into the life behind the success, the money, the lifestyle, and the red hat that divided the entire world. And we'll get to the part that nobody is talking about properly, the mental health crisis that almost ended his career before it truly began. Stay with me, because this story is about more than just one goal. It's about what happens when you refuse to give up on yourself. Childhood. Foyos, a small, quiet town just north of Valencia, Spain, olive groves, market gardens, the kind of place where everybody knows everybody. That's where Ferran Torres Garca was born on February 29, 2000. February 29, a date that only exists once every 4 years. Most people celebrate their birthday every year. Ferran Torres has only had 6 real birthdays in his entire life. A forward who, technically speaking, is still only 6 years old. But that rare beginning shaped something in him. His family never rushed his development. They played the long game, waiting for the moment that would arrive more meaningful when it did. His childhood idol was David Villa, Spain's legendary number 9, the man who scored goals when it mattered most. And the first name on his first Valencia shirt? Gaisca Mendieta, another Valencia legend. From the very beginning, this boy knew exactly who he wanted to become. At just 6 years old, he joined Valencia CF's youth academy, the club he had supported his entire life. And for the next 11 years, quietly and consistently, he worked toward a dream that his hometown of Foyos could barely contain. The leap year kid was just getting started. Academy in Valencia. 11 years in Valencia's academy. 11 years of early mornings, long training sessions, and the slow, patient work of becoming a professional footballer. And then, December 16, 2017. Ferran Torres made his senior debut for Valencia against Eibar. He was 17 years old, and in doing so, he became the first player born in the year 2000 to appear in La Liga. Not just a debut, a historic one. In 2019, he was part of the Valencia squad that won the Copa del Rey, the club's first major trophy in 11 years. A hometown boy, lifting a trophy. For the club he'd loved his entire life. But the biggest clubs in Europe had been watching. And by 2020, one of them came calling. Not just any club. Manchester City. Pep Guardiola, the best manager in the world. For a boy from Foyos, this was the dream arriving ahead of schedule. Manchester City. Summer 2020. Ferran Torres leaves Valencia, the club of his childhood, the city of his life, and signs for Manchester City for $20.8 million. Pep Guardiola, the Etihad, the Premier League. At 20 years old, he had made it to one of the most demanding football environments on the planet, and he delivered. In his first season, he won the Premier League and the EFL Cup. He scored a hat-trick against Newcastle. He represented Spain at Euro 2020, becoming part of a golden generation that was clearly building towards something special. But here's the problem with playing for Pep Guardiola. You are never guaranteed anything. the competition for places is relentless. And for Ferran, a player who needed rhythm and consistent minutes to be at his best, the stop-start nature of life at City began to take its toll. He was good at Manchester City, but he wasn't the main man, and deep down, he knew it. So when Barcelona came calling in January 2022, his home country, his language, the biggest club in Spain, he said yes immediately. He was going back to Spain, back to where he belonged. What happened next, nobody could have predicted. It's the Bottomless Pit. Barcelona, January 2022. 55 million. One of the biggest clubs in the world. This should have been the moment everything clicked. Instead, it became the hardest period of Ferran Torres' life. He arrived with a broken bone in his foot. Before he'd even played a single match, he was injured. Then, the criticism started. Barcelona fans, some of the most demanding supporters in world football, expected immediate brilliance for that price tag. When it didn't come, they turned. Goals dried up. Chances were missed. The social media abuse intensified. Fans called him garbage. Called him a waste of money. Said he should be sold. Said he wasn't good enough to wear the Barcelona shirt. One moment captured it all. Playing against Napoli in the Europa League, Torres missed chance after chance, and when the final whistle blew, he stood on the pitch in tears. Not frustration, something deeper. A young man publicly breaking under the weight of expectations he couldn't meet. By February 2023, he had hit rock bottom. And then, he did something that took more courage than any goal he'd ever scored. He spoke about it publicly. I found myself in a bottomless pit, and I could not see a way out. It had never happened to me before. I lost my confidence. Everything was affecting me. I seriously considered walking away from football. And then, the decision that changed everything. He started seeing a psychologist. Not quietly, not secretly. He told the world. At 22 years old, one of Spain's most prominent footballers stood in front of the cameras and said I needed help. And I got it. It's been painful, but at the same time, it has been one of the best experiences of my life. Because now, I feel stronger. In a world where footballers rarely admit weakness, where mental health is still treated as a taboo in dressing rooms across Europe, Ferran Torres chose honesty over image, vulnerability over pride, and slowly, painfully, patiently, he climbed back out. Then the comeback. Getting help was the turning point. But the work was still ahead. Season by season, Ferran Torres rebuilt himself, not just as a footballer, but as a person. The confidence slowly returned, and on the pitch, the goals started coming again. He stopped trying to be the player Barcelona paid 55 million for. He started being himself. Direct, dynamic, a runner who created chaos in defensive lines and arrived in the box at exactly the right moment. The criticism never fully disappeared. At Barcelona, it never does. But something had changed in how he handled it. The noise that once sent him to a bottomless pit now barely touched him. There is always external noise around me, more often for the bad and very rarely for the good. It says them off, but I am always focused on myself, on working and improving. By the 2024-25 season, he was a key player. La Liga, winner. Copa del Rey, winner. A trusted weapon off the bench, the kind of player every manager wants when a game needs changing. Spain's captain Rodri had seen the whole journey from the inside. The struggles, the tears, the comeback, and he never forgot it. That memory would matter on the biggest night of all, the Shark. Something else changed during the comeback. Not just the goals, the identity. Fans started calling him El Tiburón, the Shark. For a player who had spent years being mocked for missing chances, that nickname meant everything. Because a shark doesn't beg for approval. It doesn't freeze under pressure. It waits. It reads the moment. And when the chance arrives, it attacks. That was the new Ferran Torres. Colder, sharper, done asking permission to be confident. Sometimes, a player doesn't just need form. He needs a simple. And the Shark the World Cup hero. July 19, 2026. MetLife Stadium, East Rutherford, New Jersey. Spain versus Argentina, the 2026 World Cup final. the two greatest football nations of this generation, on the biggest stage in the world, in front of 82,000 people and a global audience of hundreds of millions. Ferran Torres started on the bench. For 62 minutes he watched, waited, stayed ready. Then Hansi Flick turned to him. His number was called. He came on, calm, focused, carrying everything he'd been through in the previous 4 years inside him. Spain were dominant, completely in control. Argentina barely created anything, defensively suffocated from the first minute. Spain had the chances. Spain had the possession. Spain even had a goal disallowed for offside that would have won it earlier. But the net wouldn't go in. 19 shots, 1 disallowed goal, and a scoreline that still read 0-0 going into extra time. It was one of those nights where football felt cruel, where a team doing everything right couldn't get the reward they deserved. And then, 106th minute, the ball reached Ferran Torres inside the penalty area. 1 touch to control, 1 look up, 1 shot. Goal, no disallowed flag this time. No cruel twist, just a clean, decisive finish from a man who had spent years being told he couldn't score when it mattered. He scored when it mattered most of all. The man Barcelona fans called a serial misser. The man who cried on the pitch after missing chances. The man who sat in a therapist's office wondering if he should quit, scored the only goal of the 2026 World Cup final. Spain won 1-0. World champions for the second time in history. In the stands, the Spanish fans erupted. On the pitch, Torres dropped to his knees. Not in disbelief, in relief, in gratitude. For every difficult moment that had brought him to exactly this one. But the night wasn't over yet. The next day, Spain returned home. 2 million people lined the streets of Madrid. The bus moved through oceans of red and gold. And when it reached Cibeles, the spiritual home of Spanish celebration captain Rodri took the microphone and stopped to talk about Ferran Torres, a player who has been many times unjustly criticized. And today, he is history of this country. 80,000 people roared. And somewhere in the crowd, a boy from Foyos, who had once sat in a bottomless pit with no way out, heard those words and knew it had all been worth it. Net, Worth and Endorsements. One World Cup winning goal changes everything, including the numbers. His Barcelona salary sits at around 10 million per year, one of the club's highest earners. His contract runs until 2027 with a 1 billion release clause. His net worth is currently estimated between $25 and $45 million, and after the World Cup, every analyst expects that number to climb significantly. His main endorsement deal is with Under Armour, signed in December 2024, positioning him as the face of the brand's football expansion across Europe. Before the World Cup, that deal was valuable. After that goal in the 106th minute, it became priceless. Off the pitch, his company 11 Future Invest manages his financial portfolio, including a commercial building near Mestalla, the stadium where his journey began. The boy from Foyos investing back into Valencia. That's not an accident. At just 26 years old, World Cup winner, Barcelona contract, global brand deal, his financial future looks as bright as his football one. Lifestyle. A World Cup winner. A Barcelona star. A global brand ambassador. So how does Ferran Torres actually live? Perhaps surprisingly quietly. For someone at his level of fame, Torres keeps a deliberately low profile. No constant headlines. No flashy social media. Just football, family, and a lifestyle that reflects his Valencian roots more than his Barcelona salary. His home in Barcelona is exactly what you'd expect from a man who values peace over spectacle. A modern luxury residence in one of the city's most exclusive neighborhoods, high ceilings, private grounds, and the kind of quiet that serious money buys. Inside, everything is designed around recovery and performance. A fully equipped gym. Rest areas. A space that feels less like a showpiece and more like a sanctuary. On the road, he moves in style. His car collection includes a sleek Mercedes AMG and a Range Rover Sport Powerful, premium and understated. The kind of cars that say success without screaming it. private, grounded, family first. His closest circle, his mother Mara Dolores and his sister Aranza, never left his side through the difficult years. And he hasn't forgotten that. The leap year kid from Foyos. Living quietly, working relentlessly, letting the football do the talking. In the red hat, the World Cup was won. The goal was scored. The parade was done. And then one red hat changed the conversation entirely. During Spain's victory parade, images spread of Ferran Torres standing shirtless on the celebration bus wearing a cap bearing the words, "Make Spain Great Again." A direct adaptation of Trump's famous slogan. The White House reposted it immediately. Everyone wants to join the movement. 2.6 million views in hours. Every major outlet had an opinion. But Ferran Torres never explained himself. No press conference. No statement. He simply posted more photos still wearing the hat and let the world decide. Was it a joke? A statement? Or simply a young man having fun on the best day of his life? Nobody knows. And Ferran Torres isn't telling. The man who spent years rebuilding quietly, who never fought back publicly, chose the biggest moment of his career to make the whole world talk about him. Whether that was intentional or not, only he knows. Conclusion. Some people are born on ordinary days and live extraordinary lives. Ferran Torres was born on an extraordinary day and still managed to surprise everyone. A leap year kid from Foyos. A boy who idolized David Villa and dreamed of wearing the Spain shirt. Who spent 11 years in Valencia's academy before anyone outside his hometown knew his name. Who won the Premier League at 20 and thought the hardest part was over. Then, Barcelona happened. And the hardest part was just beginning. A bottomless pit. Tears on the pitch. A psychologist's office. The genuine, terrifying possibility that it was all going to end before it truly started. But he showed up. Every day. Even when it was painful. Even when the fans were calling for him to be sold. Even when he couldn't see a way out. And on July 19th, 2026, in the 106th minute of the World Cup final, the ball fell to him one more time. This time, he didn't miss. Spain's captain Rodri said it best at Cibeles, in front of 2 million people, a player who has been many times unjustly criticized. And today, he is history of this country. World champion, Barcelona star, and a man who proved that seeking help isn't weakness, it's the bravest thing you can do. The leap year kid from Foyos only gets a real birthday every 4 years, but on July 19th, 2026, the whole world celebrated with him. If you made it this far, drop a comment below. Do you think Ferran Torres has finally become the player everyone knew he could be? And where do you see him in 5 years, still at Barcelona or somewhere bigger? If this video moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you enjoyed it, you already know what to do. See you in the next one.